There's this one part of modern life that people are absolutely fed up with, maybe even as much as politics or the economy, even though it's something that's supposed to be fun and joyful. I am referring to dating.
I'm okay with not dating for the rest of my life.
You look happy. Yeah, thanks. I stopped dating.
I'm done with dating.
Zero interest in dating.
Dating is so trash.
I just went on the worst date in U.S. history.
And this is not just like vibes. This shows up in the data. Check this out. In 2020, Pew asked thousands of single Americans about their experiences. When asked how their dating life was going, 67% said not too well or not well at all, to only 33% who said very or fairly well. And when asked about finding people they even wanted to date, only 25% said it had been easy compared to 75% who called it difficult. It's really bad. And this is new. When Pew asked how this compared to 10 years ago, 47% said it had gotten harder, to only 19% who said it had gotten easier, and the rest saying it was the same. And you might think, oh, I get it, it's the apps. But look at the survey of high school seniors going back to 1976 asking if they ever go on dates. Back in the 70s and 80s, almost 90% said yes. But then it started to decline in the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s. Now, only 46% of high school seniors have dating lives, less than half. If you dig into the numbers, this romantic recession is hitting young people, older people, the well-off and the struggling, people who use dating apps, and people who have never opened one. This is something deeper that has changed. This chart shows the percentage of all adults who live alone. It is way up. So is the percentage of young adults who've had no sex in the last year. It's almost double. And the percentage of adults who have sex regularly, at least once a week, is way down, almost half. More and more people are never partnering up at all, to the point of crashing birth rates. And that's not just in the US. This is everywhere. Here's the percentage of young adults aged 25 to 34 married or cohabitating. The blue line is for Latin America, and the red line is for the Middle East. Two very different places, same big trend. Or here, this chart tracks women in South Korea going back to the 60s. The red line shows the percentage who reach 40 never having married. And the green line shows the percentage who never have kids. And look, if not partnering up is your choice, God bless, great, live your truth. But what these surveys tend to find is people do want a partner. They do want a family, they just can't get there because dating doesn't work for them anymore. And the question we're gonna ask today is why. And this is one of those things I know where everybody has a theory, everybody has a take, because we've all lived it in one form or another.
Dating apps have absolutely ruined dating.
Social media is literally ruining dating.
We swipe people all day long like we're window shopping.
Dating is boring and men are not interesting.
Women's standards today are completely unrealistic.
But we want to understand this systemically, the big structural causes that might be harder to spot. So we are going to answer this question: why is dating broken? Why do we all suddenly hate it? Rigorously, with hard data. So before we get started, just a quick aside. About half of this video is going to focus on dating between men and women. And that's not because that's quote unquote the default or anything like that. It's because that is the kind that is most in crisis right now. But there's a lot at play here that's universal too, and that'll be the other half of the video. I just want to acknowledge that up front so nobody feels left out. Good? Good. So we will eventually wind our way to dating apps. I think their role is kind of overstated, but there is this one super specific, super overlooked effect they have that I want to talk about. We'll also look at our growing culture of isolation, why changes in how we live are leading to changes in how we think and behave, which are making us all find dating a lot harder and less appealing. And yeah, we are going to talk about men. Fellas, we collectively are going through right now. But remember, we're using hard numbers to talk about all this rigorously, not as a blame or as a victimhood thing. And in that same vein, we are going to start with women who are at the heart of this story. And that really comes through when you dig deeper into that data from the start of the video. All right, remember this Pew study? They also asked people who are trying to date what's hardest about it. 35% of men said it was finding someone who meets their expectations. But women were nearly twice as likely to give the same answer, 56%. And go back to that survey tracking high school seniors from 1976 to today. It also asked whether they expect to get married one day. Boys have shown a modest decline in the last 20 years, but look at the girls. Huge drop, well below the boys. And that's just since 2010. Now let's look at high school seniors' belief that they will have kids one day. Boys, again, slight decline. Girls, big drop. And if you're thinking, well, maybe the girls want to partner up, but they're just pessimistic or they think marriage is outdated, the survey also asked whether they think they will even want a lifelong mate, married or not. And yeah, boys, again, slight dip, girls dropping hard and fast with no sign of slowing. One last data point. This is from a 2023 survey on attitudes on, yes, dating. One of the things it asked about was young people's interest in dating at all. 52% of men said yes, about half. Compare that to only 36% of women, just 1 in 3. And this gap seems really important. It shows up all over the place. So what explains it? And the survey actually asked a bunch of those women to elaborate. Most cited difficulty finding someone who meets their expectations. But what's especially interesting is how they define that. Less as a laundry list of must-have qualities than basic standards for how they want to be treated. One of them said, I don't want to be in a relationship where somebody's not open-minded about the things that I want to do. Here's another. My biggest thing is respect. Another. Men are still looking for a type of women that doesn't really exist anymore, that 1950s housewife type. Girls want to go to college, they want to have a career, they want to make a name for themselves. This is the first really big piece of the puzzle. A lot of women, straight women, are giving up on dating, not because they don't want to date or they don't want romance or even because they're dissatisfied with the dates themselves, but because they are dissatisfied with how they're being treated in modern relationships. So what changed? There's this Stanford economist named Alice Evans who's written about what she calls female empowerment and the crisis of masculinity. And in short, she looked at marriage rates around the world and found that wherever women's paychecks caught up with men's, or wherever staying single into adulthood lost its social stigma, women raised their standards. Something I noticed is that economists who study this talk about romantic partnerships as a kind of bargain. That's how they like to think of it, where each contributes and each gets something in return. Sort of a big trade offer, which I know that's not the most romantic way to talk about like love and family, but bear with me, it's helpful. For a long time, the exchange was this. Both provide each other with love. That's the big one. Women, for a long time, also counted on marriage to provide financial security, since they were mostly barred from getting it themselves through employment. Marriage also provided social acceptance. And I know that sounds weird today, but for a long time, women who didn't marry were shunned as pariahs, as old maids. This idea of unmarried women as outcasts was with us well through the 1990s. So marriage was a necessity for women to remain a member of society in good standing. So what did men get out of this? First, love, yeah, like we mentioned. And childcare was a big part of the bargain. Crazy labor intensive, for a long time, overwhelmingly provided by women. And then housework, so another form of labor that fell mostly to women. And for a long time, this held. Not the fairest, not the most equitable, but it held. Mostly because it was close to the only way for women to get financial and social stability. But in the last few years, this old bargain has started to fall apart. Hey everyone, so with everything about modern life that feels transient or uncertain right now, I wanted to tell you about something dependable and solid that is not an app or a digital device, and it's courtesy of today's sponsor, Fair Watches. Fair is an independent watchmaker out of Southern California, and you can really feel the emphasis on design and quality construction when it's on your wrist. I had a lot of fun browsing their offerings, looking at how well Fair combines hardiness with elegance, watches for being out in the world, or yeah, maybe impressing on a date. I am wearing the D4 Meridian, which is fully ocean ready, and it's also, this is cool, solar powered. So I'm not worried about changing a battery, charging it overnight, doing a software update. It just goes on your wrist and it works. Check them out at fairwatches.com. Every watch comes with a 2-year warranty and ships from within the US. Most are also assembled in the US. That's fairwatches.com. All right, now let's get back to our video. But in the last few years, this old bargain has started to fall apart. For one, women face way less stigma for choosing to be single. Marriage is not a necessary price for social acceptance anymore, so we have to take this one out of the bargain. Marriage just does not provide it anymore. At the same time, women, as summed up in this Financial Times article, are starting to surpass men financially. Women are more likely than men to go to college in a lot of countries now. Look at the gap in the UK, for example. Young women are also catching up to men in employment rates, and in some places surpassing them. In the UK, women's average incomes are now higher than men's for the first time ever. So if we go back to that marriage bargain, it doesn't provide financial security to women either, especially for younger women who are really likely to earn as much as men these days. So what about women's end of this bargain? Childcare and housework. Have women's obligations changed to reflect that they're getting less in return? This is a recent economics paper titled, and I love this, Winning the Bread and Baking It Too. One of the things the authors found is that single women spend, on average, slightly more hours per week on housework than single men. But when they get married, women's time on housework grows to about double that of men's. If they have kids, it becomes triple or quadruple. And if you think, well, maybe that's because men are busy out making money, I've got some news for you. The study looked at how housework breaks down in opposite-sex marriages where both partners work. In homes where the female-to-male wage ratio is between 0.25 and 0.5, and that is to say women make between 1/4 and 1/2 of what their husbands make, women spend just over twice as many hours per week on housework as their husband. And that's not so surprising, right? The husband earns more at work, the wife works more at home. But let's see how that changes when we look at couples where the wage ratio is between 0.5 and 1. In other words, where the wife earns anywhere from half her husband's salary to the same amount as him. These are their hours spent on housework. It's exactly the same as that other bar chart. She's making nearly the same salary as him, but still putting in twice as many hours at home. So, okay, let's look at what happens when that wage ratio pops up to between 1 and 2. Household where the wife makes more than her husband, like up to twice as much. Surely they're doing equal housework. Nope, it's the same again. Nothing changes. All right, last bar. Homes where the wife earns more than twice her husband's salary. These are the high-powered executives, corporate attorneys. There's no way they're coming home and scrubbing toilets while the husband plays video games, right? Yep, they are. Even the women who literally financially support their husbands, they still do all the housework. There's a lot at play here, but mostly it comes down to social expectations. Married women are still expected to perform all the duties of a 1950s housewife while now also holding down a career as demanding as their husbands. Getting married means their workload doubling, and their husbands getting cut in half because now someone is bringing home a second salary and taking care of all the homework. The point is, marriage has gone from an at least sort of balanced exchange to a completely lopsided one, which is why more and more women are turning it down. Especially when you consider that research finds that single moms spend less time on housework and have more leisure time than married moms. Basically, dads create more housework for their wives than they contribute. In other words, women who want kids can sort of get a better bargain by raising them by themselves. Being a single mom is, in this particular sense, kind of a better deal. So, to take a step back, marriage has gone from the only option for women to one of several options to now one of the costliest options. So you can see why more and more women are asking, why bother with the hassle of dating at all? The end result is so unappealing. It's summed up by one of my favorite headlines on this. This economist crunched the numbers and stopped dating men. To me, the person who best summed this up is a writer and actually a former colleague of mine. We co-hosted a podcast for a while named Erin Ryan. She wrote, compared to being single, men see being married with children as beneficial. Women see being married with children as detrimental. Men want their fathers' lives, and women don't want their mothers. This is a good moment to transition to men. Think back to that chart we showed earlier that young men are way more interested in dating than women are. Men still want to date and marry, but straight women increasingly choosing to stay single means that straight men are finding it harder and harder to find a mate. And as this Fox article sums up, single men are, as a result, increasingly unhappy. They're less satisfied with their lives than single women are. Research from Germany found men are now less likely to initiate breakups, too. They know how hard it is out there. Look, our culture tends to tell men one of two stories about why they're becoming lonelier and less able to find love. Story number one is to tell men that they're lonely because they're bad, to shame them. Story number two, and maybe you can say why this one is found more purchased with men, is to tell them they're lonely because they're victims of some enemy who is out to get them. And usually that enemy is said to be women. I gotta tell you, I think it's neither of these. It's this. The world changed and the old bargain broke. Think back to those testimonials we heard from women who are giving up on dating. Men are still looking for a type of woman that does not really exist anymore, that 1950s housewife type woman. This is easy enough to see when you take the 50,000 feet up, big picture, data-driven view, but that is not how most of us see the world, right? We see our individual experience and we extrapolate from that. And yeah, women are often able to see that this is about rejecting the old romantic bargain that doesn't work anymore because they're the one rejecting it. But men who are still trying to date within that bargain, they don't know that it's outdated, can misread this as being rejected personally, which makes them feel hopeless, or as losing their rightful place in society, which makes them feel aggrieved. Remember how that economist we heard from, Alice Evans, summed it up? Female empowerment and the crisis of masculinity, which certain online voices are taking advantage of to tell men that it's all proof of a feminist plot against them. There's not. There's no plot against men or against masculinity or against the family, I promise. But straight men who feel confused or frustrated by that old bargain failing them are internalizing those narratives that, ironically, I think probably make them even less attractive to potential romantic partners. This is a survey of how commonly men by age group agree with the statement, women seek to gain power by getting control over men. It's way, way more commonly held among younger men than men trying to date now. Or check out this survey asking teenage boys whether women should even have the same opportunities as men. The share who agree completely has dropped from 2/3 a decade ago to less than half today. And the share who agree at all is down a lot too. All of which is feeding this vicious cycle where women reject the old romantic bargain, so men feel aggrieved, feel like something's being taken away from them, which leads them to try to take it back by pushing for a return to traditional gender roles, which just reinforces women's desire to reject an old model that now feels forced on them. And this is how you get a straight dating scene where everyone feels fed up, disappointed, and lonely. Hey folks, just wanted to let you know about an exclusive video series I'm doing, really excited about it, called No Dumb Questions, where I answer big questions about the world submitted by viewers like you. This week's is all about the war in Iran. I answer what peace would look like, what the tipping point was that made the US and Israel start the war in the first place, what are the odds that any peace will actually last, and a lot more. You can find this and more videos in this series on other topics for free at newpress.com/Iran. So what is New Press? New Press is a hub for independent video journalism I'm building with my teammates Johnny Harris, Sam Ellis, and Christoph Haberson. It's free to sign up, and you get loads of stuff like behind-the-scenes content, chats with us, and that video series I mentioned, No Dumb Questions. Again, free to sign up, newpress.com/Iran. Okay. Let's get back to the video. If all this stuff affecting dating between straight men and women did not apply to you, thank you for your patience. We are now going to talk about a whole other thing that makes dating feel harder and less rewarding for everyone. A relatively recent but very deep culture of isolation. Not loneliness. There's a difference. Loneliness is involuntary. It's when you want to be with other people but aren't. Isolation is a choice. This is a big story from The Atlantic last year and what the author Derek Thompson called the emerging antisocial century. It was full of stats like this one, finding that the time that we each spend hosting or attending social events is down 32%. Here's another. The average man now spends 7 hours with his TV for every 1 hour that he spends with another human being not located in his home. And it had charts like this one, showing the percentage of high school seniors who go out regularly with friends. Way, way down. I know these stats can kind of wash over you, so just think of it like this. Back then, after-work activity might be going to the bar, but now it means Netflix at home. Dinner that might have once been cooking or eating out with friends is now DoorDash burrito for one. And weekends that used to be for parties, do you remember those? It's where this meme is from. People used to go to these all the time, honestly. Ask your parents. Anyway, now it's weed gummies and DoorDash and Netflix. Kids, meanwhile, who used to spend all their free time in unstructured play, are now putting that time towards video games by themselves and at home. So we've gone from all these social activities that put us around other people to solitary activities that isolate us away by ourselves all the time. This is making dating harder in a bunch of ways. For one, all of those activities used to be how we met people. You've probably seen this chart of how couples have met over the years. It's actually from an academic study, but adapted by a Reddit user. Anyway, everyone knows about the rise of meeting online, right? But I think just as important is this huge decline in meeting at bars because we don't go to them. Or at work, because we don't see those people socially. Or through friends, because we don't have as many and we don't see them as often. And if you're too young to have experienced the time before dating apps, meeting potential partners socially the old-fashioned way...
Excuse me, miss. You never close your eyes anymore when I kiss.
It's just fun. Even if nothing happened, it felt exciting in a way that swiping never can.
Okay, one drink, but I'm buying.
Okay, but it's an open bar.
It could be a coworker. Friend of a friend of a friend, a classmate, teammate, a random stranger at a party. You feel something, you make a connection organically. This is kind of just gone. And it's why dating went from fun and joyful to sterile and tedious. It's a chore on your phone between your work email and the social apps giving you anxiety. But there is another reason that our era of isolation is making dating terrible. This is another set of charts from John Byrne-Murdoch at the Financial Times, using numbers from a long-running study to track how often people in different age groups make and follow through on plans, persevere in things they set out to do, are easily distracted, and so on. These red lines track people under 40 over the last decade. Look at this. Think about dating someone like this. We are getting so used to a world of convenience and solitude. Everything being catered to all the time, that we are getting flakier, we're getting less attentive, we're getting less reliable. And these are all traits that make for less appealing romantic partners. Here's another set of results, tracking the degree to which people are helpful to others, that they're trusting, that they start arguments. Look at people under 40 again. Distrustful, argumentative, more and more antisocial. That's it for the Financial Times charts, but look, you simply can't understand this topic without John Byrne-Murdoch and the FT, so give him a look. Anyway, all that time alone, at home, on our screens, our social muscles have seriously atrophied, and that makes dating harder twice over. First, because potential mates, the people you're going on dates with, are probably getting less agreeable and less sociable, which makes them kind of a bummer to go on dates with. But second, because, and I am sorry to say this, if you were typical of most people under 40, you were probably less sociable and less agreeable too. It's like trying to swim the English Channel after not exercising for a year. Of course you're struggling. All is to say, when we lament dating apps, I think often what we're really unhappy with is the culture of isolation that is pushing us onto those apps. But there is one thing that we can blame on the dating apps. And that's something that I once saw described, and I love this coinage, as the Zillow effect. If you go on Zillow or any listing app and you search, say, Brooklyn apartments, you will get a zillion options. You could click around for hours because even if you find a listing you like, what if there's a better one out there? And once you start applying to places, well, it's frictionless to apply online, so why not apply to a bunch? Anything that looks interesting. Which means that the people who have to receive and process those listings get like 1,000 inquiries. This experience sucks. Everyone has so many options that sorting through them becomes a huge, stressful task in itself. And that landlord has enough applicants that they can hold out for someone with perfect credit and super high incomes, which makes the system feel rigged for everyone else. This is what the apps are doing to dating. Imagine you're on a dating show. Classic formula is you choosing between 3 suitors, and it's hard. You spend the show getting to know them, weighing your options.
It was so unmemorable.
What time? Unmemorable? Oh!
And the whole premise of these shows is that it's impossible, right? You couldn't possibly judge and compare 3 romantic prospects that quickly. Except now imagine you're on this show, but instead of 3 suitors, it's 30, or 300, or 3,000. You would break. Your brain actually does something really important. It changes into a different gear when it's presented with this many choices. And it goes from judging each choice on the merits, like looking for what it likes and the smaller, manageable number of choices in front of you, to when it's overwhelmed, focusing on filtering those choices. Your brain starts using shorthands, no to this, no to that, to rule people out with the goal of getting it down to a manageable number. But on dating apps, you never get to a manageable number because the options are infinite. You're always in filtering mode, so all you see are the negatives, the things that you're filtering for. If your filtering brain can only see negatives, you feel discouraged and disappointed by what's out there. You certainly never get to see these as real individual people, which makes you feel alienated and hopeless. And it makes them feel judged and rejected. And even if you do match with someone, have a good couple of dates, in your mind, somewhere, you're still aware of your infinite options, that there's always more to filter for the optimal ideal match. People get on some level this is happening. This is from those testimonials of young women fed up with dating. Anytime a person had limitless options all the time, there is this perception that who they're with isn't good enough. It's a lot easier to churn and burn, to advance very quickly, and then just kind of move on to the next person. This is the real problem with dating apps. Our brains evolved for a world where we might meet 100 other people like ever. Maybe, 10 of those could be potential romantic partners, 20. We're just not equipped for infinite, limitless, endless choice. And it brings out our worst. But there is a better way, a better bargain for how to meet and date one another. This is a study that measured relationship satisfaction in couples from 50 different countries around the world. And they also track levels of intimacy, passion, and commitment. Here are the results for couples who met online. And here are the couples who met offline. Yeah, look at that. More satisfied, more passionate, more committed. This is not just about dating apps being annoying. There is something about meeting in person that is just different. And I know nobody meets randomly at bars or whatever the way they used to. Scenes like this one from old movies are fun, but they look crazy now. So how are these elusive online daters meeting? I think it's because they already know each other. Go back to that study on changing attitudes toward dating. One line really jumped out at me. Younger Americans appear increasingly interested in dating people they already know. And get this, young adults are more than twice as likely as seniors to report they were friends with their partner or spouse before they started dating. They actually have numbers to back this up. Look at these red bars. Every generation, the percentage whose partner started as a close friend is going up. The word is out on the street. Sick of swiping, hate modern romance, date your friends. Date your friends. Or, I don't know, your teammates if you do a club sport. Or your coworkers, which is what I did. There is, and I can't believe I'm showing you this, actually video of us on a podcast together right after our first date. And we're with our boss, who we were trying to keep it a secret from. And I think you can see on our faces that, yeah, this is a little scary. It's not as emotionally safe as an app, but also that it's exciting. The reason dating someone you know feels scary and exciting is because you already have a real relationship with them with real emotional stakes. You care. But that's what dating is supposed to be. You're supposed to take a risk on investing in a relationship that you care about, not swiping through infinite bits of biographic data on an app looking for the optimized set of variables. And that means going back to this, the then and the now of how we socialize. We are living this one. But if we can shift back toward this, we are going to have a lot more real-life connections with real-life human beings who we might fall in love with. Bars, sports clubs, parties, these things all still exist. But remember, we spent the first half of this video talking about the big problem that's specifically plaguing dating between straight men and straight women. The bargain that doesn't work anymore, that's got more and more women understandably saying no thank you. But what if we changed it? Get rid of this, since men aren't really providing it anymore anyway, but get rid of this too, all this extra work. There. Doesn't that look better? Just to be clear on what I'm proposing, it's equal split on housework, childcare, making money, everything. And I don't mean it has to be 50-50 exactly, you can each specialize. But I think if we've learned anything here, it's that women, straight women, could not be clearer that this mandatory gender-specific home duties is a deal breaker for them. Rules out career, rules out hobbies, passion projects. The world has changed, and this doesn't fit it anymore. But this does, and all the better if you are friends first. And if you want to have kids, it's got to look like this. Straight men, since you were the group least happy with dating, I have some advice for you. And I'm sorry, I know everybody has advice for straight men these days, but this is informed by hard data. Whatever energy you were going to put into looks maxing or whatever, which, by the way, is a solution to a problem that does not exist. It's for a world that only feels this superficial because apps overwhelm us with choice. Put that energy towards getting in the habit of cleaning your toilet regularly, towards vacuuming. I'm serious. Or toward making and spending time with friends. Actually, that last one's not just for straight men, that is for everyone. Because after crunching all the data, looking at the surveys, the trends over time, psych studies, testimonials, I think we have learned 3 things about how to fix modern dating. Socialize more in person, equal status at your home between you and your partner, no gender job duties, and date your friends. Look, I'm not joking around here. This is what the best data we have says is the answer to modern dating. Really, it is this easy, so you can go ahead and go out and do it. Actually, Tamai, you can go ahead and roll the credits. I'm waiting. There's a whole world out there. Go ahead. You got this. Let me know how it goes. Let me know in the comments. Let me know.